Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Front Door. I'm Scott Benedict. It would likely be a pretty significant understatement to say that the pace of change in retailing has accelerated in the years following the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic drove a large number of customers to try digital commerce, to purchase products as varied as big-ticket home furnishing items to as varied as their weekly grocery shopping trip because of the dangers of shopping in a physical store during the pandemic. Now, if you fast forward a few years, and a population we have now is a lot more comfortable with online shopping from a mobile device or from their home computer, and they become more comfortable with technologies like artificial intelligence and personalization that have made their digital shopping experience more desirable. And I say that across age demographics and certainly across the broader population. Now, at the same time, consumers have returned back to physical stores in a post-pandemic world. An interplay between digital and physical shopping has shifted from one of separate channels into really more integrated paths to purchase that we view through the lens or the term of omni-channel retail. Now, this past year, Walmart published a report on the evolution of what they refer to as adaptive retail. And I have to be honest and say that I've been fascinated to the findings of that report and the implications to modern retail contained within the report. Quite frankly, I've been going on and on about this topic to the point that I've begun to kind of get on people's nerves a little bit. And it's good to have friends who understand when you become that passionate, that fascinated with something. And I've got such a friend, my good friend Andy Wilson from doing business in Bentonville. And Andy, thank you for indulging me and agreeing to kind of have a conversation a little bit about this topic today.
Well, first of all, I love it. And so thank you, Scott, for asking me to be part of this today. And thank you all for joining doing business in Bentonville and Digital Front Door, because Scott and I go way back to Walmart together. And,
Indeed.
And we both have this passion of retail and omnichannel. So it's great to be here with you.
Indeed. I'm excited. And I thought probably what we ought to do for our viewers is begin with, when we use this term adaptive retail, we should probably define it for the audience. And so one of the things I mentioned, the report that Walmart issued, here's how they define it. And they say, simply put, adaptive retail is an evolving form of retail that brings shopping to the customer exactly the way they want and they need. It goes beyond the blending of the best of online and offline to adapting experiences based on understanding of the deeper context behind the purchase, all to meet unique customer habits and preferences. So, Andy, kind of what the name implies is this is a goal. The goal of this exercise is to make a retail experience adapt to the needs of the consumers, whether it happens in a store or online. Right?
You're right. And I think, Scott, you mentioned earlier a moment ago about COVID and the pandemic. And, that is the COVID is a timestamp. It's a date today. And so much changed after that very unfortunate situation in our country. But it just shows the impact of the consumer, because we learned a lot through that.
Yes.
We had to, because, of all that we had to deal with during COVID. But now, think of all that's happening a day, that how retail, to your point, is adapting to the trends of the consumer.
Yes.
And, you and I grew up at Walmart.
Yeah.
And we understand that, we talked about the customer all the time.
Yes.
And what you're doing today is this clarity of this definition about the customer.
Yes.
And that's so exciting to me.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I would tell you, I got a Sam's order and a Walmart order yesterday. Why, you and I were visiting, and I we got off Zoom, and there it was.
Yep.
So I was pretty busy hanging out with you yesterday.
Yes.
So we're talking retail,
Yes.
adaptable. And then when I left my home office, went down, there was my tours.
It's interesting, Andy, because in my life since I left Walmart and Sam's Club as a consultant and in academia, there's so much conversation about retail strategies, and I have to constantly remind people who aren't like you and I, who didn't work at Walmart, to say most great retail strategies begin with the customer and understanding how to serve their wants and needs. And that's one of the things I'm so glad, as I know you are, that had the experience of working there, because generally, if you start with a customer, you end up serving them much better, and it's generally a pathway to success in retailing.
It is. And you can look at success of retail companies, the companies that focus on the customer.
Yeah.
It begins and ends with that customer are the most successful ones.
Indeed.
And what you're going to teach us today is that in order to continue that success, there's these trends and expectations and all these things you're going to share with us today.
Yep.
That I hope our viewers and listeners lean into this, because what you're going to do is say, this is how you make this work for your company, your organization.
Indeed. No, I think that's exactly right. And it's interesting that so many things about retailing change and change constantly, and yet some things are unchanged. Right. It's just how you accomplish them. Right. And I think that's at the root of what Walmart's talking about in this report.
It's right. But, we got, we were fortunate enough to hear the teachings from Sam Walton. And, Sam used to tell us all the time, he said, the most consistent thing at Walmart is change.
Yes.
And what we're talking about today is the most consistent thing in adaptive retail.
It's change.
Yeah,
Indeed. Indeed it is.
Yeah, let's get into this. I'm excited about it.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Good. Well, one of the things that I think is so amazing is what I call, the key trends in the shopper expectation.
Yeah.
These are, you have studied this, you work on this a lot. So, for our audience, what do you see here? What, are the key change or expectations?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing that this report brought to light is that we're traveling rapidly down a road of a change in mindset in our industry, from looking at physical stores and online as these two separate channels of serving a customer and of driving sales. And while that's not necessarily not true, it's much bigger than that and much more than that. And I think what's interesting about this report on adaptive retail is how you connect stores, online, and technology in new ways to adapt to the needs of the consumer, in some cases even before they know that they need it. Mm-hmm. But your example of having deliveries come to your house is just one element of this, which is, how do you serve a customer when, where, and how they wish to be served? And this concept that the Walmart has articulated about adaptive retail is really about using all of your assets, all of the elements of your business, including technology, to anticipate customer needs and then serve them in a way that's not only really wonderful for them, but you can do very efficiently so that you can keep prices low.
Right. I think that's so amazing. And I thought of a story after we visited yesterday, when I spent quite a bit of time in Japan, and, what the convenience stores would do, because, it's public transportation on trains,
yeah.
People walking from business to offices to trains. And what 7-Eleven would do, that in the mornings they would have breakfast.
Yes.
You could take with you. And, you didn't eat on the trains because you just didn't there. Mm-hmm. But, you take to your office. Or at lunch, you could go get it. Then dinner, then you could pick up dinner on your way. So you didn't eat on all the public transportation, but you could package that where you could take it with you to your home.
Yes.
And if you think about it, they were anticipating those three different food customers.
Yes.
Not you could eat in or take out, but it was about takeout at home. And that now in the U.S. is happening everywhere.
Yes. And it's interesting because to many people, it's this new, stunning innovation. And I was fortunate enough, like you were, to spend a couple of years of my Walmart experience in the international division. And one of the greatest takeaways that I have to this day is that not all great retail innovations emanate from the United States. We're pretty good at a lot of things, but great ideas like that, where different cultural norms, traveling so much more by public transportation than by car, created examples like what you're talking about, but it's all tied back to what is the need of the customer and how can we efficiently serve that customer in new and exciting ways. And that's part of what's transforming our business and our industry here. But great ideas come from all over the world.
You're right. And, we had this program at Walmart, and when I was in merchandising, I knew you two did the same thing. It was called Eat What You Cook.
Yes.
And so, for our viewers and listeners, when I was a boys wear buyer at the time, and so I had to go out and travel stores because we did that all the time. We just, get closer to the customer, and B, our associates that worked in the stores. But particularly, a couple times a year as merchandisers, we had to go and do Eat What You Cook. In other words, we bought all the stuff.
Yeah.
Let's go see if it cooked. Well, we would go and we'd interview the associates that worked in those departments. So we'd interview customers, what they liked or disliked about that. What we were learning with trends.
Yes.
I got the wrong colors. I bought the wrong style.
Yeah.
Customers rejected it. Or they purchased it. Why did you purchase it? And the thing, you have here about trends is that the learning is, if you are in merchandising, it is very important to stay close to your customer.
Indeed.
Listen.
Yes.
Go listen to that customer. And the great thing about, and we'll get into this, is the information you can now gain.
That's the thing, is that concept of Eat What You Cook still exists, but it's manifesting itself in different ways based on the technology that's available to us. And I think that's part of at the root of this is that understanding customer needs. It's the listening is happening in different ways. And that's, so the basic premise is still there, but how we accomplish it is changing because of advances of technology.
I get excited talking about it.
Indeed.
Warren, let's dig deeper into your knowledge of this. Now, as we know, we're all connected. All generations of us are connected now.
Yes.
Multiple ways. So as you think about this, talk about this generation, the connectivity of this generation, and how that impacts, I would call, the shopping experience.
It is, and I'll kind of frame it in some of the key trends that were identified in this report. One of the big trends that Walmart and the team at Morning Consult, who worked with Walmart to kind of survey consumers ahead of this report, was that there was a next generation of conveniences, this concept like we knew how to serve a consumer on the train when they needed it. Well, now personalization technology has allowed us to have access to more information, more information about the consumer, and then provide them with more relevant products, more relevant services, and in a more relevant context. In other words, it may make sense that sometimes a store is the way I want to be served. In some cases, it's picking up something in the store that I ordered online. In some cases, it's having that product delivered to me. But next generations of convenience powered by technology is really, and curating it to where customer interests are is one of the trends. One of the next ones was an understanding of the consumer and the fact that they are multitaskers. In other words, shopping isn't always a dedicated activity. In some cases, it's something that you do while you're doing something else, watching TV, watching a sporting event, doing household chores, cooking, whatever, taking care of children. So in some cases, retailing and purchasing for your family's needs isn't a standalone activity. It's something that happens while you're doing other things. And then this kind of moving past the what they call the blend is the third thing. In other words, not just saying we have an online store and a physical store, but how do those things work together? In some cases, you're using a mobile device while standing in a physical store. In some cases, you're sitting at home with a laptop or an iPad and doing research on something that you may ultimately go into a store to pick up. So that was the third thing. And then the fourth thing they talk about in this report was what they call channel indifference. In other words, a customer interacts with your brand. The concept of stores or online is not separate things to them. You are one brand as a retailer, or even as a consumer packaged good brand. You're one brand for the consumer. So serving them in a way that's convenient for them, wherever and whenever and however they want to acquire that item, that's kind of the key of the way things are headed. So those were really some of the big trends at a high level were identified through this report.
I think you're right. I think all those are excellent. And one of the things that is challenging to me for some retailers, and I think some of the grocery companies are struggling with this.
Yes.
Is that as you talked about the brand, but it's how do you have the seamless online and in-store shopping?
Yes.
I mean, seamless.
Yes.
And I will tell you, the winners, people that are going to win are going to do that.
Yes.
The people that are going to lose haven't done that.
Yeah.
Are they struggling with it? And it takes about 5 minutes for a customer now to walk through that and see if they're struggling or not. And I've recently was in some grocery stores, and you've written pretty extensively about this in your information on LinkedIn and stuff about Kroger, another company, too, and people are laying Kroger. I think you've had an article today about Kroger laying off and other things is going on in the grocery industry because of the situation that happened that
their failed merger.
Yeah, the merger, right. Yeah. So, and it shows that they were. Here was my takeaway from your article today. Yeah. It showed that they were so focused on the merger, they lost sight of the customer.
Yes.
That is dangerous today.
I would agree.
And because as consumers, as customers, we're pretty impatient.
Yes.
And I know, I mean, sometimes when my order is wrong or incorrect online, gets delivered, it's in just the process of going back, correcting that takes so much time now. Or you can do what one online company did to me when they sent me the wrong item. They said, do not send this back. The new one is going to be expedited.
Yes.
I went, okay.
Exactly.
In other words, I don't have it immediately, but I'll have it tomorrow.
Yes.
And I don't have to go and drop this at a drop-off place now. Yeah. They said, and that those are those are going to win. And what are you seeing? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a consumer can forgive a retailer for making a mistake, but they sure have difficulty in a retailer that won't give their best efforts. And to your point, it's very easy to switch. It's not a matter of getting back in a car and traveling to a different store. It's a matter of pulling up a different screen on your computer or switching to a different app on your website or on your phone. Here's the interesting thing that I learned maybe in the last 6 months that I view as foundational to all of this, and that is that you have a single view of the customer. In other words, is Andy or Scott one customer who happens to shop both in stores and online, or are they two separate customers? And my point here is that we have our Northwest Arkansas Tech Summit every fall here, and one of the speakers I heard this past fall talked about the fact that so many retailers still have the purchase data that happens in stores and the browsing, the purchase data that happens on their website in two separate silos. They're not connected to one view of Andy, Scott, or any other customer. And so it's difficult kind of to bring about what you're talking about, which is a high quality of service for the customer if they don't understand all of your purchase activities and all of your engagement with their brand. And so my point is that that's kind of like a foundational element that so many retailers still don't have in place, and not just here in the U.S., but in other parts of the world, as I've learned through some of my consulting activities, is that that's such a foundational piece of bringing about this better future that we're talking about through technology, that if you don't have that single view of the customer, you don't understand them very well, can't provide them with great service, and you certainly can't be proactive in what you propose to them because you don't have a full understanding of them.
I think we have to underline your point. I think that's such an excellent point you're making, and for our viewers, I hope they're listening, because I have two quick examples. Number one, recently I noticed on Amazon that they've added Whole Foods to my account now. When I shop Whole Foods and I shop Amazon, it's all there. To your point, I didn't know they were going to do that, and when they did it, I went, "That's smart."
Yes.
Now, also recently, I has experience with another delivery from a retailer, and the order went to another address, so it didn't come. A potential delivery, which didn't show up. So then, in the research, what I had to do was to finally got through all the credits, got the credit, but then I had to completely re-enter every item because they didn't have a history of it. I thought, what a miss, because the Amazon recently just happened. This other retailer, it was about an hour or so of working through it, and I went, okay, they don't know who I am.
Yes.
On in-store versus online. So your point, I underline, is critical, and if you're in this space, Go do what you should.
You've got to have the foundational pieces in place, because no strategy is going to work out well if it's not rooted in a fundamental understanding.
Yeah, you're so right. Yeah, you're so. So what is value-based shopping? How do you define that? Because I thought that was very interesting.
Well, both you and I, having come from Walmart, you would think that the first thing you think of as value is price. And while you wouldn't be wrong, it's more than that. There's elements of convenience and time savings that are also elements of value in the eyes of a modern consumer. And a lot of that came through in as I was reading this report, and it made sense in the context of my own experience as a merchant and as an e-commerce person. So I think the thing that Walmart advocates in this study, and certainly my own experience bears it out, is that yes, price and value is an important element of value, but it's not the only element of value. Having a breadth of assortment that allows access to a wide array of products to help find the one product or products that you're looking for. Having a convenient way to get it. To your example about, I don't even have to go to the store now. It appears on my doorstep, or I can pick it up at a pickup point on the way home. And that if you could, all of that shopping happens whenever, wherever, however. This concept of multitasking that they talk about in the report, where you may be busy doing something else, and it occurs to you, I need to get more dog food. I need to get more laundry detergent. I need to pick up socks for my child. Whatever that is, those are elements of value in modern adaptive retail, in addition to price, not separate from price.
I think this whole space is so interesting to me, especially when I tour retailers and I see the personal shopper, if you will, and they're fast, they're timed, it's all that. It's a productivity issue, and they do multiple times a day. But I will tell you that job is critical because they're the consumer is not picking up merchandise out or selecting the merchandise. And, it always makes me smile when I'm in the produce area and I see that shopper looking at those bananas, looking at that apple, and instead of just taking it and throwing it into the cart. And I see that, and when I see that, it says to me, number one, that shopper cares.
Yes.
Number two, somewhere in that whole process of training and develop, they've taught that.
Yes.
This could be, just treat it like it's yours.
Yes.
And do a great job. And that to me is critical.
Yep.
I know, packaging a product properly is critical.
Yep.
If you're outside of, the discount, discount retail, what we're talking about today. And my daughter's in charge of online at a store she works at. And I was talking to her one day and I said, how do you do it? And she said, well, the critical piece is the packaging.
Yes.
Now, this is upscale brand, but the point is how she packaged it, wrapped it with a note.
Yes.
And, with a personal note. But they can do that. The discounters can't do that. But, those kind of retailers. But that's that personalization.
Yes.
To it. And if you're where you can afford to do that, those little things are so helpful because it's personal. It says that to you as a customer, you're special. You're special here.
Yeah. And
I'm going to take a moment to write you a note and thank you.
Yeah.
So I think there's hundreds of things you can do to create, like as you said, it's not just value-based shopping anymore.
Right. Indeed. And it's interesting because, one of the things that Walmart has said that they've kind of modified their mission statement was that they were people-led but technology-enabled. And what you just described is an example where it's still people-led. It's still a personal touch and taking care of the customer. But to the degree that technology can be used to not only do that kind of great service at scale, but do it very efficiently that doesn't add costs, is one of the exciting elements of the age that we live in. I'll give you one quick example. We've seen a lot on electronic shelf labeling, electronic signage at the shelf in the store.
Right.
And at first glance, you look at that technology and say, well, that's just so we don't have to spend labor on updating signs. And you wouldn't be wrong. But there are elements of that technology that make it faster for someone who's picking an online order in a store because the signs will light up of here's the next item, here's the next item.
Right.
And so now you can go faster and give that speed element to a customer. We're going to get your order picked faster and have it ready to go, either if you're going to pick it up or have it delivered. And so this concept of people-led, tech-enabled is really starting to come to life because the technology enables the people, the humans, to give a better quality of service and to do it more efficiently than perhaps before some of these great innovations came to life.
Yeah, I think shelf labeling, and I know you've talked a lot about it. And I know
I have a whole episode about that.
I know, which I like, by the way. And but what you're suggesting and encouraging retailers to do is use technology, in the proper way here.
Yes,
and that's definitely an excellent way, and it's going to be savings not only just for shopping, but changing prices and all that. It's going to be incredible savings of labor. And one of the things that when I was in a conversation at Walmart, we were talking about self checkouts, and we probably went too far at the beginning, but as fix it. But one of the discussions I was on, and I had an opportunity to participate in, is that we were talking about really the relocation of labor, and that was really it's okay. We're going to save labor at the front end. Where are we going to move labor to?
Right.
We didn't reduce the labor; they moved the labor.
Right.
It costs personal shoppers.
Yeah.
And which is a much more exciting job than standing behind the cash register all day. So.
Indeed.
And then they made adjustments and all that and getting it. But the point here is, as you think deeply about this technology, is that you've got to say, okay, if I could do this and save time and money, where would I push that into this area? Because now you're not just looking to brick and mortar, as you said. We're looking much broadly now.
Yes.
And so I think that thinking has to go deep into this process.
Indeed, it does.
Indeed
it does. I'll tell you, one of the neat things about self-checkout specifically is that so much of the focus has been on the labor issues, and many people will just totally trash it on social media.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that it's a good retailer doesn't do it in 100% of the cases. If you still have this big weekly grocery shop where the cart is full, you still have a person that can help you check that out, and that's great. One of the things I've really liked, and specifically I have seen it both at Walmart and at Sam's, is the concept of scan and go. And that's where you can scan items into your cart on your mobile app while you are shopping, so that then in the case of Walmart, you go up to the self-checkout register, scan a QR code, and it processes your order, gives you the digital receipt, and sends you on your way. So you're not stopping to check out again. You've kind of checked out as you were going.
Right.
And the step at the self-checkout was just the finishing piece. So that makes it better for the customer than that. At Sam's Club, where we had that technology a little bit further back, you literally can not only scan items as you go through, but you can actually finish, pay for it, have a digital receipt, and just show that to the exit greeter, and they'll let you pass on. And for all the things that I learned through my Sam's Club career to respect about Costco, the one place that they have not innovated is on the checkout. They still have much longer lines than Sam's Club does every day. Now you throw this capability in there, and you can literally pass by the whole checkout process at a Sam's Club in a way that, we come back to this adapting to the needs of the consumer. That's just a wonderful way in which the technology has made the shopping experience go faster and made you as a retailer more efficient in getting customers checked out and on their way to go live their lives. And that's just wonderful to see.
It is.
Right?
I enjoy it. And, because what it does for a customer, it gives me back time. And saves me time, gives me back time. And time is, is precious. We only have so much of that every day. All of us have the same amount. And so, if we can be productive, and I think that's one of the trends from a consumer standpoint, a customer standpoint, is that if you can give back to your customer time and through your efficiencies, ever in the store or not in the store, I will tell you, those customers will stay with you.
Yes.
And if you do that really well, they will stay with you.
Yes.
And they will become very loyal. Used to loyalty was when you went to that store every day. Now, see, if you go to that store or go online, it's going to that store.
Yes.
So you got to think about online and going to that store.
Yeah.
And you got to track that. You got to look at that. You got to listen to those customers. You got to reach out to those customers or surveys. You got to listen to them, because it's the same as going to the brick and mortar, if not more. And I believe if you look at the generations and things, it's going to continue. And so this is an exciting report. Anyway, so Scott, the next thing is, as you look to the future of evolution on this, what do you see?
Well, we've talked, and you and I even did an entire episode about personalization, and the benefit of all of the data that a retailer has about your purchase behavior in a store, your browsing and purchase behavior online, the services you take advantage of, how often you shop for certain items, is going to make the retailer smarter about what your needs are. And I say your needs, customers broadly, and you and I specifically, about what do I value? How often do I shop for dog food versus paper towels? And then figure out how they can serve those needs better, right? We talked about, and they talk about in the report, this concept of multitasking, and now shopping from a television, from the smart TV. If you watch during the football season, every Thursday Amazon has a football game that they sponsor on Prime Video, and when they go to commercial, there are commercials for items that you can then push a button to either learn more about or to buy from Amazon.
Right.
So now that's my most literal current version of this multitasking. There's going to be more of it evolving as we go forward. But now something as enjoyable as watching a television show or watching a football game, more specifically, can be interspersed with, that's a neat new item, that's a neat new service, that's a neat new car model. It's whatever that is. I like to learn more about that. Press a button and you get an email or you get a text message, or you can actually buy the item.
Right.
And so that feels like kind of the next wave is how do you take this data and use it in a way that makes both the products and the services that a consumer wants to engage with easier, both in terms of how easy it is to buy, but in any context. While they're doing something else, it's easier for me to shop. It's not, shopping doesn't have to be a separate activity. It can be integrated with the rest of my life.
Right. Well, I think you're right. And, one of the things I would add as, on this is that when Scott and I study retail, we're in this business every day. And, we think about it a lot. We have some wonderful guests in that really challenges our thinking. And, one of the things that recently I've been thinking about from the standpoint of evolution is that don't leave all this innovation up to the big retailers.
Right.
I think there's a tremendous amount of local-owned companies can do this better.
Yes.
And get to your customer group, and there's unique ways. And if you have a local-owned business, our encouragement is learn how to connect with that customer more than physically. Learn how to connect with them online. Learn their, this God's already challenged you. Know their habits, know their likes, know their colors, know know their sizes.
Yes.
All of that, whatever it is. I'll use this word, intimate relationship with that consumer's needs.
Yes.
And if you do that as a local-owned business, it will set you apart. You'll set yourself way apart from others. And because it's not if this is going to happen, it's when all this is going to happen.
Indeed.
Because you said at the very top of the podcast, it is a lot going to be happening quickly in the future, and we better buckle up.
What's neat, Andy, is that I'm sure a lot of smaller retailers or smaller consumer brands go, well, I don't have the resources for everything that Walmart, Sam's Club, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola have. Well, the fact is that technology is also becoming less expensive and more readily accessible.
Right.
That small businesses, small brands, small retailers can access some of the basic capabilities that larger companies can, and it's becoming easier and easier. So it's, some will try and use it as an excuse. I would respectfully submit it's not a legitimate excuse, to your point. And that just kind of keep your eyes and ears open. And there's so many different ways that something as now mainstream as artificial intelligence can be used for a small to medium retailer or a small or medium consumer brand.
Absolutely. If you haven't embraced AI, do it, because it's amazing how much speed it would give you and time, or save you in the speed of what you're needing to do.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I got to tell you, Andy, first of all, I appreciate you hearing me and letting us have this conversation about this topic. And I've been in your ear about it. I find it so fascinating. It's one of the reasons why people like you and I love retailing so much, is because it's never boring. It's always something exciting. And specifically about this report, when Walmart put this out, one of the things they said was that it's an annual report.
Yeah.
So I take that to mean that they will have updates on kind of their views about the state of technology, the acceptance by the consumer of some of these new innovations, and invariably not all of them will work, and some will not be embraced by a consumer, but it will continue to play an important role in serving the consumer wherever, whenever, and however they wish to shop and how they wish to be served. And it's exciting to see what will be coming next in next year's version of the report and how our marketplace continues to evolve. And so, first of all, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Andy, for joining us today on behalf of Doing Business in Bentonville. For the Digital Front Door, I'm Scott Benedict. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.